Welcome to Lemoore City Council Chamber, 429 C Street. This is the July 19th study session. Please silence all electronic devices as a courtesy to those in attendance. Thank you. We have SS-1 Kings County Association of Governments presentation.
Good evening, Mayor and council members. Today I have Yuhan here with KCAG and also Veronica Sullivan on Zoom to give a brief presentation on KCAG and the overview of what they do. All right. And here's the-
Hi, so I believe it's actually Terry King on the
Yeah.
line, so I will
I'll go ahead.
let
and
her
start.
give a brief introduction and then I'll go ahead and get started with the presentation. Thank you all
Good
for your
evening,
patience.
Mayor, members of the council.
No worries.
My name is Terry King. I'm the Executive Director of the Kings County Association of Governments. And we are here tonight to talk about our regional transportation plan and sustainable community strategy. We're in the process of doing all of that now, and we're having meetings with our city councils and board of supervisors, and I'm here in Avenel at our first workshop. What I want to mention about the regional transportation plan, it's our long-range document. We prepare these every 4 years. It's a long-range document that covers the span of 20-25 years, and it has specific elements to it.
Terry,
Yes?
we can't hear you very well right now, so we're gonna try and turn up the sound, and if we just have you try again. Sorry.
Okay, are we turned up now?
It's a little better.
Okay. How about now?
Yeah, if you can just speak a little louder into the microphone.
All right. Okay, I don't know what you heard. You want me to start over?
Okay.
Start over, you said?
Yes, please.
Oh, okay. Not sure if you heard. My name is Terry King. I'm the Executive Director of the Kings County Association of Governments. And we're here tonight to talk about our regional transportation plan and sustainable community strategy. This is a long-range document we do every 4 years. It covers at least a 20-25 year period, and it has 4 specific elements to it. We have a policy element that talks about the policies covering all the various modes of transportation for the county and the region. It also includes a action element, which includes all the projects of the various transportation modes we would be implementing over the long-range plan. And then there's a financial element that provides the assumption of the funding that's available to implement those projects that are included in the action plan. And the 4th element is what we call a sustainable community strategy. And this is a piece that's required by the California Air Resources Board that is basically a suite of plans, programs, projects that, if implemented, would help the region meet its greenhouse gas reduction targets from transportation sources, that specifically being passenger vehicles and light-duty trucks. And we've released these documents for a 55-day period. They're on our website at kingscog.org. And at this point, you've already met Yuhan, but I'm going to let him give you an overview of the process and talk about the scenarios that we've come up with to identify those projects, plans, and programs to reduce our vehicle emissions. So with that, I'll let Yuhan give his presentation.
Thank you, Terry, and thank you, council members, for being with me here this afternoon. I don't know how much of that you heard, but I'll do my best to fill in any of the gaps that you might have from that. So I'm not sure how familiar some folks here are with KCG, what they do, but it is the Metropolitan Planning Organization for the county, and has been taking the lead on developing this regional planning document. And this document has been a work in progress with all of the local agencies. So we have been talking with staff from all of the cities and the county on putting together this document. And it is an important document in ensuring that transportation dollars continue to flow from the state and from the federal government to the county. So we're trying to make sure that we're getting everybody's input in getting this document put together. See. Thank you. So just a quick recap. This is an update to the RTPSES, the Regional Transportation Plan and Sustainable Community Strategy. It must focus on multiple modes, so it has to be between active transportation, bike and ped, regional transit, so bus and rail, as well as automobiles and cars and all of the regional roadways. It has to link land use, housing, and employment, and it has to cover a long-range plan. So it's 25 years, this one through 2046. The next slide, please. So the plan has to be financially constrained. So it has to have a reasonable financial projection, as well as ensuring that the projects within the county don't exceed that reasonable financial line. And we have to emphasize system preservation and maintenance. And I think many of the jurisdictions within the county are already doing that. So ensuring that the pavement is maintained and the bus system continues to run, as well as meet the state and federal requirements for air quality and for pollution impact. Next slide, please. So what I'm here to talk about a little bit is the scenarios that have been put into this regional transportation plan. These were developed with a little bit of input from the local agencies, as well as based on the city general plans. So next slide, please. It's important to note that these scenarios are not being imposed by anybody. This is not that you have to do this. These are just reasonable ideas for the future of land use in the county, and we would like your input on this. This is what we're most interested in hearing about, and what these workshops that I'm going to be covering are going to be focused on. So scenario A is the current trend land use consistent with the agency general plans. Both the A and B include projects that we know are in progress for road and rail and the regional transit system, CAPTA. Scenario B is in talking to some local agencies, a few are seeing a little more movement with lot split into ADUs, a little more flexibility has been written into state law. What might that mean for future land development in Kings County, and just a little bit of looking at the impacts of that. Scenario C and D are scenario A and B land uses respectively, but with enhanced investment in electromobility. There's a good number of electric vehicle chargers already in Kings County, enhanced broadband expansion, and with additional active transportation funding. So that is the 4 scenarios that we'd like feedback on. Next slide, please. So as Terry mentioned, this must be a financially constrained list. We've asked for the projects from all of the jurisdictions, and we've tried to take estimated costs, as well as grant wins from previous funding cycles, and how try to take that to a reasonable projection for the entire county. Next slide, please. These scenarios must be tested, so there are certain environmental justice measures, as well as modeling requirements from the state, and these modeling requirements have been met, and the greenhouse gas emission targets have been all modeled in the various measures that are required. Next slide, please. And this is the important one. We'd like to invite all of you to the workshop. There's one going on right now, which Terry is at in Avenal. There will be one tomorrow in Hanford, and there will be a virtual workshop on Thursday to talk about the regional transportation plan. And it's cut off on this slide, but the QR code will lead you to Kings Regional Vision's website, which has all of the documents posted. And you should be able to see all that information there as well. And thank you very much. Thank you all for listening to me blather on about this, and I appreciate your time. And I'll take any questions you might have.
Thank you. Does
Thank you.
council have any questions?
No, I have no question. Good presentation.
Does anybody from the public have any questions? Seeing none? I guess that concludes our study session.
Vice Mayor, if I could,
Sure.
going to provide just a little bit of follow-up. I mentioned we're talking about the regional transportation plan and sustainable community strategies. We've also released some other documents as well. One is the environmental impact report for these two documents. And we also have the Federal Transportation Improvement Program, which is basically a list of projects that are already federally approved and funded. And then we have an air quality conformity document that shows that our projects do not create any air quality issues. In that Federal Transportation Improvement Program, we have some projects programmed for the city of Lemoore, which helps us with our greenhouse gas emission reduction targets. We have some bicycle and pedestrian projects programmed for the city of Lemoore. And then I believe in your budget session, you talked about a street sweeper. And yes, we do. We have the funding for your new street sweeper. So we have those types of projects funded throughout the county. And so again, we encourage you to visit our website, kingscog.org, as well as the Regional Vision site that has all of these documents on there that you can download and review and provide comments. So we appreciate that. And also would love to see you at our workshops.
I realized in my haste to get started, I didn't actually formally introduce myself. My name is Yuhan Huang. I'm an assistant transportation engineer with DKS Associates, and we've been helping KCAG with this effort, and we focus on transportation planning and engineering, and I help with the long-range planning division.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Terry.
Thank you.
All right, with that, we will wait until our regular meeting at 7:30.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Welcome to Lemoore City Council Chamber, 429 C Street. This is the July 19th meeting and the 3:30 regular session. We're going to call the meeting to order, and if you could please stand for the invocation and remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance. Chaplain Robert Davis.
With bowed heads, oh God, we thank you and we praise you. And oh God, we ask you, oh God, to bless this meeting, oh God. Allow your will to be done, oh God. Everything discussed, oh God. We ask you, oh God, to bless this great city, oh God. And oh God, bless each and every council member, oh God, each and every participant in this meeting. And we give you glory, honor, and praise for all that you've done, all that you're doing, and even all that you're going to do. In Jesus' name we do pray. Amen.
Ready? Salute.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Moving on to roll call, Marissa.
Councilmember Cheney,
Here.
Councilmember Cornick,
Here.
Councilmember Orth,
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Matthews,
Here.
and Mayor Mayans is absent. Thank you.
Okay.
Agenda approval, additions and or deletions. Seeing none, we'll move on to public comment. Public comment will be in accordance with the attached policy. This time is reserved for members of the audience to address the city council on items of interest that are not on the agenda and are within the subject matter jurisdiction of the council. It is recommended that speakers limit their comments to 3 minutes each. And it is requested that no comments be made during this period on items on the agenda. The council is prohibited by law from taking any action on matters discussed that are not on the agenda. Prior to addressing the council, any handouts for council will be provided to the city clerk for distribution to the council and appropriate staff. The public will have an opportunity to comment on items on the agenda once the item has been called and the mayor opens the item to the public. Is there any public comment? Mr. Wren?
Hello.
Hi.
Hi. For
Hello.
those of you who don't know me, Philip Wren, run Berkshire Brewing here in Lemoore. Just wanted to throw some things out there on the public comment that were either not agendable or whatever. And it just comes down to just things that I've talked about with other businesses in town. Just first off, I want you to know that I'm a product of this city. My dad moved here when I was a kid, went to Neutron Acres, went to Lemoore High. So, you know, this is basically my town. And when we first started the brewery, the biggest complaint we had was that there's nothing to do in town. So we figured, hey, what the heck, let's give it a shot and see where it takes us. We've had a tremendous community, a whole lot of support. And I do want to thank council members who have, you know, gone out there and talked to us. And, you know, I do definitely see some communication, which, you know, we do thank you guys for. The big problem is, excuse me, it doesn't seem to be that way with a lot of the businesses downtown, or I guess with the businesses I've talked to. I would like to let them speak for themselves, but the big overarching factor, whether it's a business has been there for a year or for 3 years or 30, is they feel like they're not, you know, welcome, or they no longer feel like they're welcome. They're being ignored. And a lot of that does stem from 2020. Like, you know, that's the big pain point that everyone keeps going back to. Basically, we heard nothing from, you know, the city as far as any sort of support, while we're watching other communities, you know, get some sort of, you know, alleviation. And sure, we did get the relief money about a year later. I can't really fault the city for that, since that was all stuff that, you know, was trickled down the pipeline. But one big thing that I always noticed was when the city puts a big, you know, form on the front page of the website for pausing refuse collection, that kind of basically tells us that the city expects businesses to close. So that kind of, I guess, image from the city doesn't really sit well with a lot of people. Another thing too is something that we hear a lot is when we try to reach out to the city or try to call somebody, we either never get calls back. There's never a first call resolution. The person who we need to talk to is never available, or like I said, they just flat out just never reach back out, or we get deferred to the city manager all the time. And it's kind of weird that that seems to be the case. Like, I don't know if that's the expectation that's been set in the city, or the culture, lack of empowerment, lack of, you know, competence or something. But
Oh. 3 minutes are up. Are you
okay,
wrapping up?
yeah.
Okay.
But that's just something that we you know, want to bring up. And obviously it's not something I can bring up and talk about in 3 minutes. And I'm sure you guys are well aware of the stuff that we've been discussing, but I just wanted to put that out there, and thank you for your time.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Any other public comment? Marissa?
Good evening. I did receive a public comment via email, so I'm going to read it into the record. So it's from Ann Hodgson, and it reads, "Hi, I would just like to put a couple of comments to you, the city manager and the city council, for the upcoming meeting. Firstly, I played Lemoore Golf Course last weekend and was impressed with all the work and improvements that have been made. On the whole, the grass was green, the traps had sand, the greens themselves were shaped, and the vast majority of the course was tidy. However, we are in the Central Valley in July, and I did not expect to see muddy areas and standing water in places. Obviously, the watering is the reason the course looked like a golf course and not a desert. But can I ask where this water is coming from? Is it gray water? Also, there are a number of places where the ground was boggy, overwatered, and there were puddles of standing water, some of which smelled very unpleasant. Now, this concerned me very much, and as we have just recently had reports of West Nile virus being close by, Please, can you monitor the watering of the course so that those boggy areas and puddles do not continue? Again, I congratulate the management team looking after the course for the work they have done, but please not at the potential risk to local residents' lives. Secondly, I was upset to read that a merchant in downtown Lemoore was feeling that the city was not encouraging downtown merchants to the point where it felt the business should move to another city. Lemoore has some excellent businesses in downtown area. However, there are also a number of empty/closed businesses and dilapidated buildings which do not do our city any favors. The city and council should be encouraging the businesses that we have and supporting them to remain in Lemoore. A number of these businesses actually bring revenue into Lemoore from outside areas. The particular business in the question being one of them. This particular business is now an award-winning business for their wares, something our city should be proud of and advertise often as a reason people should visit our downtown. Finally, regarding having this particular business in town, it also generates extra revenue for food establishments close by. Many of their patrons go out to eat or bring in takeaway, which would not do if the business was not there. Lemoore needs to get more mom and pop businesses / restaurants, etc. into the areas of D Street, Fox, Follett, Heinlein, and encourage people to come into its century. It feels like Lemoore is being pushed towards a weed ghost town with empty stores everywhere, or residents are being pushed out of the mall areas or even to Hanford. Please work closer with our current local businesses and ensure that any tax money stays in Lemoore and is not given to Hanford or beyond. We would still like more in Lemoore. Yours truly, Ann. Thank you.
Thank you, Marissa. Thank you, Ann. Any other public comment? Seeing none. We'll move to ceremonial presentation, Westlands Water District Scholarship Presentation. Miss Elizabeth Jonathan, I'm sorry.
All right.
I even practiced that and I said it wrong, sorry.
And no, it's totally all right. I get Johansson, Scarlett, you know. But I very much appreciate, good evening, council. I very much appreciate the opportunity of highlighting our scholarship recipients. Every year, Westlands puts out a scholarship announcement to the West Side area high schools, and we get a wonderful amount of worthy students. It's just amazing having to read through all of those, and then having to decide is one of the toughest parts of my job so far. And this year, the board was absolutely gracious. We normally give out 10 scholarships to the 10 high schools, and we just had too many to whittle down. So we are giving out 17 this year. And
Wow.
so kudos to the board for allowing that to happen, because I was literally crying on some of these applications of just how tough and accomplished our students are. It was tough. From Lemoore, we recognized 2 students. One student who, Dylan McDonald, who is away competing in nationals for wrestling. So he sends his regrets that he couldn't be here. But we do have Noah Noble and family here. I don't know if we normally do a photo of some kind or.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, that being the case, then I would love to ask Noah to come up and maybe introduce himself and say a few words so you can just see how amazing he is. And I can take a photo.
Good afternoon, council members. My name is Noah. I've lived here for a few years, and I just want to thank Westlands especially for this amazing opportunity. You know, college has always been a big dream of mine, especially for my future career, and you know that money can really go a long way. And I also want to thank Lemoore as a city, you know, for providing such an excellent education program here, and I'm just really grateful. Thank you for all the work you guys are doing.
Do you want to go down?
Yeah, we'll go there.
Yeah, let me take it.
Congratulations.
Congratulations again, Noah.
Very much.
Wish
Congratulations.
you much success. Moving on to department and city manager report, section 2:1, department and city manager report.
All right. Good evening, Mayor Pro Tem and council members. First up tonight is Chief Kendall.
Good evening, Mayor Pro Tem and Council. I have a few things to put out today. Currently, we have 2 vacancies for a full-time police officer. We will be testing for those and hiring from within our reserve pool. So some of those 2 positions will get filled by people that we know and have been in the program for quite a bit of time now. Today, we did fill a vacant corporal position. I have the pleasure to announce that Ryan Obar, currently assigned to our detective division, brings 16 years of service to the city and will now hold the rank of corporal. That begins effective August 8th. We have some movement in our specialty units. Brian Ferreira, he's been with us now for about 4 years. He tested for, along with a few others, for our vacant canine position. He was selected. He did very well during the selection process. We will go down to the lovely city of Banning next week and try to pick out a dog for the city for the next, hopefully the next 5 to 7 years. We started moving into the new building. So our records manager went over there first to kind of work out some of the kinks with the internet, the phones. All those problems have been alleviated. I went over there, the executive assistant went over there, and then we will move our records department over there. I'll put out well in advance when that becomes the new front lobby, but it should be here relatively shortly. We're really just waiting on a copier to get put into records. That's the only holdup so far. And then lastly, August 10th at 12 p.m., the Greater Kings County Chamber will be hosting the Public Safety Appreciation Luncheon over at the Hanford Civic. If anybody wanted to attend, they can get with the chamber and purchase their tickets through them. And I think, as stated previously, Officer Gresham will be our representative for the Officer of the Year. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next up is Frank Rivera.
Good evening, Mayor Pro Tem and City Council members. Just have a few projects to update you on. You may have noticed that on Bush Street, we've kind of slowed down a little bit. The reason being is that we had some suggestions on maybe getting a little better quality for our project's costs. So we requested that the contractor requote some additional grinding to uniformly plane the road entirely. So instead of just grinding the edges, we're looking at grinding the entire road down 3 inches and adding 3 inches of asphalt. So we feel that that's going to give us a better long-term product. So it took them a while to get us a quote, which we today agreed on. So the grinder will be coming back by the middle or end of next week. And once the grinder's on site, it'll take about a week to get the grinding done. and the paving complete, and of course, the striping and traffic signals back in operation. So that's the reason for the delay on Bush Street. The 48-inch storm drain line, which you haven't heard of for in a while, but that is almost complete. That is the storm drain line from PG&E out to our S Basin, which takes care of all of our storm drain south of Highway 198. So I would say within the next 2 to 3 weeks, that project will be complete. Our well site, our new tank did pass the back T test. We're just waiting for DDW to officially give us their blessings to actually put the tank on into service. So that's all I have for now.
Thank you, sir.
Great, thank you.
Good evening. And a couple things out of my office. Last week, the city or the county of Kings did approve the beef harvesting permit unanimously, and they did put in the condition that they can have a maximum of 400 and I think it was 420 cows on site at any given time. So they limited the cows on that one. Yes, sir.
It's 420. I think the paperwork we saw was, I think they said 200 to 250.
Well, that was how many they were gonna slaughter, up to 210 cows a day. So you normally have a holding pen because you got to keep them there. So and just the way the rules read on how many cows you can have in square footage, it limited them to less than 500. So they were amenable to 420. And I think when we talked, we were right around the 400 range. I'd have to go back and look at my notes because it was basically a day's worth and then a day in holding. But that went through. So you should see some activity out there. They started breaking ground on the Johnny Quick on the west side of the freeway. So you're seeing some activities over there. They're still working on the housing. They're putting in some of the storm drain and sewer lines out there by the college. They're having to de-water because they're hitting water at like 9 feet out there. So they're moving a lot of water to get the pipe in the ground. So that's a slow going process. We met with Niagara Water last week and the Kings Economic Development Corporation. So Niagara is on a statewide search for a home for their new plant. And I was proud of staff. I think we represented well, got good feedback from the company, the EDC and the realtor after the meeting. So we're expecting some follow-up interviews with Niagara Water. They're looking to build a 400,000 square foot facility behind Leprino Foods, potentially, if our site is one of the ones that are selected.
When you say behind, is that north or south?
West. It
There's
would
solar
be,
fields
so
there.
we have Leprino. To the west of them is Leprino Solar Field. Then just west of them will be Helena Agribusiness. And then there's still 113 acres available that would fill out the rest of that industrial park on the west side of town.
That's in our city limits.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, in the city limit. That's the last piece out there, though.
I was just going to say that's got to be the last one.
Yeah, we're out of ground after that. The volunteer fire department put in for some grant monies and were awarded $2 million from, I believe it was a joint effort between Hurtado and Salas. I could be wrong on that. I have not seen the scope yet or how the monies can be spent, but we're anticipating that it's for equipment and apparatus. So don't have the dates of when anything's coming in or not a lot of detail yet, but that'll come to council in the future because we're going to have to add the expenditures and accept the monies and get approvals to spend it. So you'll be seeing that coming, but they did put in and got a $2 million grant this year. So we weren't even expecting that. So that was good news. Good job, Bruce. And then lastly, flag football is just around the corner. Signups end August 4th. So if anybody out there wants to get their kids signed up for flag football, they can contact the rec department. And I believe we're also looking for coaches too. So there's always a shortage of coaches. So if you have the time to practice one or 2 days a week, come down Saturday mornings when it's nice and cool outside. It'll be a good time for all. So that's it for now. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Moving on to consent calendar. Items considered routine in nature are placed on the consent calendar. They will be considered and voted upon in one vote as one item unless a council member or member of the public requests individual consideration. 3-1 approval of minutes, regular meeting, July 5th, 2022. 3-2 approval agreement between the County of Kings and the City of Lemoore to provide a subaward for fiscal year 2020 State Homeland Security Grant Programs funding. Does council have any questions or comments? Or want to pull anything? No? Anyone from the public want to pull anything? Seeing none, I'll bring it back to council.
Motion to accept 3-1 and 3-2 as read.
Second.
I have a motion by Orth and a second by Mr. Gornick. Mr. Orth,
Aye.
Mr. Gornick,
Aye.
Mr. Cheney,
Aye.
and I vote aye as well. Consent calendar passes. Next is public hearings. 4-1, public hearing, abatement of public nuisances. Mr. Rivera.
Good evening once again. Tonight, I have before you 18 properties. Six of the 18 properties have structures on them. The rest are just vacant land, which were identified by code enforcement and fire department as meeting the criteria for a public nuisance and fire hazard. All property owners were sent 3 letters, the third letter being a certified letter requesting that they clean up their properties. On July 5th, 2022, the City Council adopted Resolution 2022-30, formally identifying locations within the city that were in violation of City Ordinance 8-2-1. Each property has been posted a copy of the ordinance, which included the public hearing date, inviting them to attend tonight's meeting. I have in the audience Code Enforcement Officer Soledad Perez, who can, if you have any questions about any of the particular properties, she can probably answer any of those particular questions that you might have. If you have any questions for her.
Did we get any responses from the emails you sent out to the?
She should
Particularly the railroad ones, I'm interested in that.
Good evening, council. I got 2 phone calls this evening from 2 property owners, and they will be working on their property within this week and the following week. The railroad, no, we don't get, they don't contact us, and they signed for the certified slip, but no response from them.
Did we send them a bill? For our work?
I believe we did last year and we leaned the property. I think they're in arrears to us like 15 grand at this point.
We put a lien on it? Council, or?
We could put a lien on their property, but the rail's never gonna sell their property.
I didn't realize that.
I do have a new contact at the rail that I worked with on our lease. And I discussed this issue with him a while back, and he said to contact him again if we didn't have resolution. So I reached out to him, but I haven't heard back. So I will try to get him again and see, because I believe it was 2 years ago, we sent out the letters. They didn't reply. We went out and hired and did all the abating, and they showed up like a week after we were done to clean up their properties, but it was already done because we had no way of knowing or no communication that they were
Sure.
coming. So I'm hoping that's the case here, but I would agree, they're a little, sometimes they can be hard to communicate with.
And I've been told that the railroad properties are untouchable.
The what?
That they're untouchable, that there's, you can't really do much to get your money back from the railroad property. I have called different departments, the tax collectors at Kings County, and, they've told me the same thing. It's very hard for you to get your money back. And we're not the only ones that are having the issue with the railroad. Armona goes through the same thing, and so does City of Hanford and Kings County. Kings County Fire Department actually called me one day and they're like, hey, if there's a way that you can get your money back, we would like to join in because they would like to get reimbursed too. So. Yeah, this is what I've been told.
So other than the railroads, we've contacted all these other, there's 6,
Yes.
and we've only heard back from 2 of them.
The owner from the corner lot on Iona and Vine, he's gonna start plowing his lot. The 9-10 seater, they also contacted me, and they will be starting their property, getting it cleaned up. 234 G Street, we didn't hear from them. It's a vacant home. So, and then the lady, the owner on Champion, she actually owns 4 of the properties on Champion. She called me this afternoon and I called her back and left her voicemail, so didn't hear from her until, I'll probably hear from her tomorrow. Yeah, so, and she usually waits until the last minute and then she starts cleaning it up.
Cleaning up.
Yeah. So,
We're getting somewhere. Other than the railroad.
yeah, I wish it would be easier, so.
Yeah.
You know, while we're on this discussion of ordinances and stuff, I had a conversation today with a citizen who asked me about, what are we doing with feral cats?
So.
Do you really want to get involved in that conversation?
Be careful.
Well.
Well, it was real interesting. I'm learning more about this than I really want to know. I realize that, but I also want to find out a little bit more about it.
Well, feral cats.
So if I could just make a recommendation, if you wanted to wait until council comments, because we're going to start a public hearing, this matter involves a public hearing. If Councilmember Gornick's okay with that.
Well, so what were we just discussing?
We were discussing abatement, weed abatement.
Yeah,
Mhm.
okay. But
For a
code
notice
enforcement is what
public
she
hearing.
does, right? I got
Yeah,
you. Thank
yeah.
you.
So any questions about the properties?
Any other questions? With that, we're going to go ahead and open the public hearing.
That's Jennifer Solis.
Go ahead.
Good evening, Mayor and City Council. Jennifer Solis, 757 Redwood Lane. Just regarding abatement, I wanted to read part of a municipal code, and then I'll explain kind of why, but just so you hear it, it's from the municipal code is 4-2-4, abatement of seasonal and recurrent nuisances notice. Section B says such seasonal and recurrent nuisance shall be abated in accordance with the provisions of this chapter, provided that upon the second and any subsequent occurrence of such nuisance on the same parcel or parcels within the same calendar year, no further hearings need to be held, and it shall be sufficient to mail a postcard notice to the owners. So last year, the reason I'm asking this is because we're doing this mid-year. Last year, we did it in October and it wasn't abated till November or December. Had we waited a month and done it in January, 9 of the properties that were exactly the same on this year's list that were abated last year, instead of having and wasting the officers' times and sending the certified letters and doing all of that, we could have just sent a postcard. So I'm wondering if kind of the schedule of this can be modified, either changing the municipal code to fiscal year. If this needs to be done in July of every year, then we can just reabate with a postcard, or if we can change the process to be able to do this in January. And then I would also request, since these now won't be abated till August, should we just wait till January? Because we're just gonna have to do it next July anyway, and that way just make it easier next year going forward. So thank you for your time.
Thank you. Thank you.
I'm not going to comment on the schedule of our abatement at this time. That's something we'll look at. But
okay,
we'll take your comments under consideration.
Any other comments or questions? Council? With that, we will close the public hearing, bring it back to council. Any other questions or comments? Then I will look for a motion to move forward with abatement.
Motion for 4-1, move forward.
A motion by Mr. Orth,
I'll second it, but I'd certainly like to see if this is an occurrence with the railroad avoiding a number of cities along the route. I'd certainly like to have you explore with other cities about us doing something with that. That's, and what's the name of the railroad?
UP, Union Pacific.
Union Pacific. Okay.
so I have a motion by Mr. Orth and a second by Mr. Gornick. Mr. Orth?
Aye.
Mr. Gornick?
Aye.
Mr. Cheney?
Aye.
And I vote aye as well. 4-1 passes. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
There is no new business tonight, and we will move to city council reports and requests. 6-1. I left out brief. I did it on purpose.
I know.
Just kidding. Mr. Cheney, would you like to go first?
I just want to thank city staff and the police department, fire department for an excellent job. All the city employees, and congratulations to Corporal Ryan Ovar. Very good promotion for him. And that is it.
Mr. Gornick?
Yes, my congratulations to Corporal as well, Brian, moving up. Also to the volunteer fire department for coming through with $2 million. I'm sure that's going to help them. Congratulations on getting the almost final approval on the water tank. That's great. I know everybody's really worked hard on that. And that's super for us when that comes online. And also finally to Westlands and Noel for the scholarship. I thought that was it's great to see Westlands decide to fund them all rather than just sticking to 10 of them. And that's great. That's it. Well, the only other thing I want to talk about is this whole feral cat thing. I want to find out a little bit more about that and how do you distinguish a feral cat from a kitty cat?
That's a can of worms, sir.
So can I have maybe 60 seconds to address the feral cat?
61 seconds.
All right, and if I'm off on anything, chief, you're my fact checker. But so you don't really own a cat. Cats are, they're wild by nature. We did try several years ago to pass an ordinance that it would be illegal to feed or water feral cats or wild animals, like you couldn't have anything outside your home, and it didn't pass. I mean, we had Cat Life Matter signs. It was a real push button topic. What I do have planned for the near future, and when I say near future, probably after election season, is if we did some kind of a feral cat ordinance just in the downtown district only to help deter those businesses from putting food and water out for cats, because then they in turn start using the flower beds and the things out in front of our restaurants for using the bathroom. So it's on the radar, but it's a very, very politically motivated. People love cats and they don't want us to kill the cats and not water or feed, but we do have an obligation to our residents to help them do that.
Well, the nature of the conversation I had today was with one of our residents who has a cat, their own cat, who has been attacked by feral cats. And there's somebody in the neighborhood who feeds feral cats evidently. And so that's the nature of the confrontation. And so when you say they're wild and you can't, nobody owns them. I mean, the veterinarians take care of them all the time. So I mean, somebody owns them, somebody pays the bill.
Right, but you can't tie it back to a specific owner because they're free roam animals. Like you can own a cat. If you choose to own a cat, you can own a cat.
Yeah.
But all these feral ones that go out and get impregnated, and if they're staying on your ground and stuff, that's what we'd have to talk about. But I think we should, why don't we take it offline and then we'll come together, because there's definitely a conversation coming to council about that, because it's on the list.
Yeah. Well, my point is, it's not just an issue that's occurring downtown, but it's also in the neighborhoods.
I agree.
Okay, I'd like to announce that this Saturday, the 11 and under Northern California State Champions is going on in our city out the Little League Park. Opening ceremonies is at 9 o'clock in the morning. I've heard about 150 children or young adults will be out there. They're gonna have a lot of people. So this weekend it's gonna be very busy in our restaurants and hotels probably. So if you guys get a chance, go out there, see them. I'd like to thank all the city staff, police, fire for everything they do. Corporal Bryant, congratulations. It sounds good that we're finally moving into a building that was built many years ago and looking very forward to getting a dispatch center out of there as soon as the chip manufacturing issue stops. I think the Rocking Arbor this weekend, it got canceled last weekend, but everyone, we need to go out there and take care of our local businesses and try to keep it here and be safe. Everyone be safe. It's gonna be hot.
Yeah, hopefully it doesn't get canceled. But if it's hot, check social media to make sure before you head out there.
Just got a warning.
Yeah.
They're gonna cancel.
I want to thank all city employees and volunteers and thanks for those that joined us tonight. It was kind of nice having people in the room. So thank you all.
Very much.
Appreciate that. And please come again, August 2nd. We'll be here. Hope to see you. I also want to congratulate Officer Sadie Risk. She just had her swearing in and it was the absolute cutest pinning I have ever seen. She had her 2 young boys pin her. So that was awesome to watch too. So congratulations to her. Lots of great stuff going on at PD over there. So you guys keep up the good work. I did attend Rocking the Arbor, not this last Friday, but the Friday before. It was a nice night. The weather was perfect. So hopefully, I don't know, things can change. The weather could be great this Friday. Who knows? Shift can happen. I don't know. Just want to mention that the shift. I said shift.
Oh.
Shift. A shift can happen in the weather. Who would think I would say that word?
That's why me and her looked at each other eyes like this.
Shift. Okay,
Most of
I'll
us knew it.
enunciate better.
No.
Just want to mention that the bike night at the Fleet Reserve tomorrow night has been canceled due to the weather. So hopefully Rocking the Arbor this Friday, maybe not. Also want to thank Senator Hurtado and Assembly Member Salas's office for the $2 million for the fire department. And I think Ms. Jonathan and Mr. McDonald, who wasn't able to be here tonight, and Mr. Noble for coming out and letting us share in their recognition of their scholarships. And I wish them both success in their future academic endeavors. And I think that's it. So with that, we will adjourn.